I canceled every single check for my stepdaughter's wedding, and now the whole family is at war. To understand why I did this, you have to understand the last 10 years of my life. I married my wife when her daughter Alice was 14. Her biological father wasn't in the picture. He was an addict who dipped out when she was a toddler and never paid a dime in child support. I stepped up. I didn't just pay the bills, I was there. I taught her to drive, I helped with homework, I paid for her college tuition so she could graduate debt-free. We were close. Or at least I thought we were. When Alice got engaged to a great guy, I was thrilled. She asked me to pay for the wedding, which was going to be around $40,000. I agreed immediately. I wanted her to have her dream day. We spent months planning, tasting cakes, looking at venues. I put down deposits on everything. But then about 2 months ago, her real dad suddenly reappeared. He's clean now, apparently, and wants to reconnect. I was supportive. I thought, hey, good for him. But I didn't realize that his return meant my erasure. It started small. She stopped returning my calls, started having family dinners with just her mom and him. I tried not to let it sting, but then came the dinner last night that changed everything. This is where I realized I was never a father to her. I was just an ATM.
So Alice invites me and her mom over for dinner to talk about final wedding details. The air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Her fiancé looked at the floor the entire time. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. That's when I knew something was wrong. Alice finally puts down her fork, looks at me, and says, Mike, my father is going to be at the wedding. I nodded and said, That's great, honey. I'm glad he can make it. She hesitated, then dropped the bomb. She said, The thing is, he's really fragile right now. He feels very guilty about the past. And seeing you there, seeing you play the role of father, it's going to make him uncomfortable. He might relapse. I stared at her. I asked, So, what are you saying? She took a deep breath and said, I want him to walk me down the aisle. And I think it's best if you don't come to the wedding. You can come to the reception later, maybe, but the ceremony needs to be just family. Just family. After 10 years? I looked at my wife, expecting her to defend me, to say this was insane. Instead, she put her hand on my arm and said, Mike, please understand. We have to support her healing process. Be the bigger person. I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't anger at first. It was clarity. Absolute, cold clarity. I asked, So, let me get this straight. I'm paying for a party to celebrate a marriage where the father of the bride is the man who abandoned her, and the man who raised her isn't even allowed to watch? Alice got defensive. She said, It's not about the money, Mike. It's about my feelings. You're being selfish. Selfish. That was the trigger.
I stood up from that table calmly. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I just pulled out my phone. Alice asked what I was doing. I told her, I'm being the bigger person. I'm removing myself from the equation entirely. I opened my banking app right there in front of them. I said, Since this is a family event for your real father, and I'm just Mike, I shouldn't be burdening you with my money either. I transferred the funds I'd set aside for the caterer, the venue, and the florist back into my savings account. Then I sent a text to the wedding planner, who is a personal friend of mine, telling her to cancel all contracts under my name immediately. Alice's face went pale. She started screaming. She started shouting, You can't do that. Everything is booked. You promised. My wife started crying, saying I was ruining her daughter's big day out of spite. I looked at them and said, If your real dad is important enough to walk you down the aisle, he's important enough to pay for the wedding. Welcome to adulthood, Alice. I walked out, drove home, packed a bag, and went to a hotel. My phone has been blowing up for 24 hours. My wife is calling me abusive. Alice is posting on social media that I'm a narcissist who holds money over people's heads. Even her biological dad sent me a text saying I'm unmanly for hurting a little girl who's 26 years old. I'm not uninviting them from my life, but the wallet is closed permanently. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for a wedding I'm not allowed to attend?
I don't even have time for a call anymore, but I wanted to give everyone a quick update because things have gotten even crazier. My wife showed up at my hotel room this morning. I thought she was coming to apologize. I was wrong. She came to hand me divorce papers if I didn't fix this immediately. She told me that if I really loved them, I would pay for the wedding regardless of whether I was there or not, because that's what unconditional love looks like. Unconditional love apparently costs $40,000. I looked at the papers, looked at her, and realized I was done. I told her to leave them on the desk. I called my lawyer an hour ago. It turns out, since I paid for the house before we got married and we have a prenup, she's going to be leaving the marriage with exactly what she came in with. Nothing. Now the tone has changed. Alice is texting me apologies. The bio dad is silent. My wife is begging to talk, but honestly, I've never felt more relieved in my life. I wanted to add one final thought for everyone asking about the biological dad's contribution. I found out today why he really came back. It wasn't to reconnect with Alice. It wasn't to make amends. He needs a kidney. Yeah, you heard that right. My friend, who knows a guy in his circle, told me he's been fishing for donors among his relatives. He hasn't asked Alice yet, but the timeline matches up perfectly. He reappears, plays the grieving father, gets her to push me out, and secures his spot as the number one dad just in time to ask for an organ. I haven't told Alice yet. Part of me wants to let her find out on her own. Part of me feels like I should warn her. But then I remember her standing in that kitchen telling me I wasn't family. It's a heavy burden to carry, knowing the truth. But I think for now, I'm just going to sit back, sign these divorce papers, and let the real family handle their own problems.